This is Jarrod Horak, and in this handicapping video, I'm going to analyze the Grade 3 West Virginia Derby at Mountaineer, and it's for Sunday, August 6, 2023. If you're interested in my full cards at Del Mar, head on over to the runawayhorse.com. You'll find my full cards. Each day Del Mar runs on my sales page. You can purchase individual full cards, weekly and weekend packages, or the entire meet. Head on over to the runawayhorse.com on my sales page if you're interested in any of that. And if you're interested in reading my handicapping articles at todaysracingdigest.com, head on over to that website. I'm writing a lot of handicapping articles from Del Mar and Saratoga this summer. And for some bonus free selections, you can find my daily best bets blog at horseracing.nation.com on the front page in the handicapping section each day. Been doing that blog for many years. And then some bonus free selections. You'll find some stake selections on weekends at the runawayhorse.com. That's on my free picks page there. So now let's just dive into this West Virginia Derby. It's going to be the 8th race at Mountaineer, Sunday, August 6th. Grade 3, $500,000 West Virginia Derby for 3-year-olds, a mile and an eighth on the main track with a scheduled post time, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, some of these horses look overmatched, so I'll just kind of gloss over those horses on paper. But number one in here could be a pace factor, Dreaming of Kona. This one is 20-1 morning line, 3 for 7 lifetime. Was a pace factor in the Macho Man Stakes, second by a half length, and was placed first through disqualification that day. Then the Sam F. Davis Stakes was up on the pace and ended up weakening. Tampa Bay Derby battled on the lead, weakened there. The Tom Ridge Stakes, Presque Isle Downs, and all-weather sprint won that race, basically tracking the pace, getting into a prolonged battle, and then winning by a half. Then the Manila Stakes on turf last time out was 5th in a 7-horse field. So now I'm adding Lasix for this race, getting back on the main track. Third start after a layoff. I would expect that Dreaming of Kona is going to impact the pace, but I don't think he's going to be around at the end. Lord Miles is number 2, and he's 8-1 morning line. This Son of Curlin is 2 for 6 lifetime. His big claim to fame, he won the Wood Memorial at 59-1 odds by a nose over Hit Show, and then Dreamlike, a maiden for Todd Pletcher, was third there. Now, Dreamlike has since broken his maiden. Hit Show has run in some big races, and he hasn't been a big factor. And then Lord Miles in his next start was the Ohio Derby, and he was 4th, beaten 16 lengths. So he's adding Lasix for the first time here, and he's got a bullet workout for this. July 29th at Gulfstream, 5 furlongs on a good track and 58 and change, best of 33. So he's one that I think can get up there and track the pace and sit a decent trip, but I'm just not sure that he can run back to that Wood Memorial. So far, that's his big speed figure race, and he's run 5 other times, hasn't come close to duplicating that effort. Number 3 in here is Tapit's Conquest for trainer Brad Cox, and he's run 7 times, and he's finished first twice and second 3 times. And he's 1 for 2 at this mile and an eighth distance. Started his career at Saratoga last summer, and he was second by a half length at 7 furlongs, stretched him out to a mile and a 16th, tracked the pace, took over, won by more than 3. His next start, an optional claiming race this year in January, he was second by a neck. That was a slow early event, and they were going pretty good at the end, but determinedly was able to get out there, control the pace. And Tapit's Conquest tried to rally from last in that 5-horse field, and he missed by a neck. Thought that was a good effort. He ran the best overall race that day. The Risen Star Stakes, I liked him in the Risen Star. I picked him and thought maybe he had a shot there, and he didn't run a bad race. He ended up finishing 4th. He was 5-1, 14-horse field. He was making up some decent progress up until the stretch, and then he just couldn't go with Angel of Empire, Sun Thunder, 2 fills. So that was a quality race with 2 fills coming back and winning his next start, Angel of Empire winning his next start, Tapit's Conquest in his next start, the Louisiana Derby. That was probably his worst career effort. He finished 7th, beaten 10 lengths, but that was the day that Kingsbarns got out there, controlled the pace. There was no speed going on whatsoever in that race, and there was really no closing going on at Tapit's Conquest. Just couldn't make up any ground in that 12-horse field, finishing 7th, beaten 10 lengths. Now, Kingsbarns was first. Disarm was the only horse making up any kind of ground in there, and he ended up finishing a clear second. And Jace's Road was up on the pace, and he finished 3rd. So they gave him a little bit of time off after that. So he didn't pan out on the Derby Trail, and they brought him back in the Sir Barton Stakes at Pimlico. That was on May 20th. the Preakness undercard there. And Arabian Lion for trainer Bob Baffert was the big horse to beat in there, and he dominated that race, and he won by more than 4. Tapit's Conquest tried to go with this one and with that winner, and he never gave up, and he ended up finishing more than 6 lengths clear of the show finisher. So that was a quality effort, stalking outside, just couldn't go with a horse that had more talent than him, and he was clearly second best. Last time out, 1.125 distance on a good track at Ellis Park, optional claiming race. He was up on the pace, and he just got into a prolonged battle there, and he was able to win by a head. So that was a good effort, and he got back in the winner's circle there. So now he's going to go back into stakes company in his 3rd start after a layoff. They paid $350,000 for this one, and under Kendrick Carmouche, his new rider, I would expect that he's going to be stalking the pace. Red Route 1 is next for trainer Steve Asmussen. This is a son of Gun Runner, and he's run 11 times, 2 wins, 2 seconds, and a third. They've tried some different things. Earlier in his career, they tried him on turf. Actually broke his maiden at Kentucky Downs in a turf route, September of 2022. The Breeders' Futurity Stakes, he was 3rd, beaten 7 lengths. Forte and Loggins dominated that one, and he was able to rally off the pace and just get 3rd at a big price. He was 59-1. The Street Scent Stakes in the slop, 2 fills dominated that one. He was 5th by 13. In the Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes, Instant Coffee was able to rally for the win, and Red Route 1 finished 4th that day. The Southwest Stakes, Arabian Night dominated that one on a wet track, up on the pace, and that's kind of the scenario with this one. He's just at the mercy of the pace, and that day he was able to rally and finish 2nd at 15-1. Second in the Rebel Stakes, he rallied from 19 lengths back, and he got a lot of pace help that day. Good effort at 9-1. They put blinkers on in the Arkansas Derby, didn't help him. 6th, beaten 5 lengths. But then his next start, the Bathhouse Row Stakes, a Preakness win and you're in race at Oaklawn Park at 1.125, and he rallied from 11 lengths back to win that one by a head, catching Tapit shoes right at the end. They ran him in the Preakness, and he got no pace help. National Treasure got out there, controlled the pace. Blazing 7 stalked the pace. Mage was 3rd. Red Route 1 tried to make a middle move. He was closer to the pace than normal, but it just really didn't set up for him, and he was 4th. In the Belmont Stakes, he was 8th, beaten 33 lengths. He was wide early. He was eased, just couldn't get the 1.5-mile distance. So now he's going to cut back to 1.125. He'll be running late. He's going to need a pace meltdown to win this one. Number 5 in here is a 50-1 long shot, too slow on paper. Won't mention that one. Same with number 6. He's a 50-1 long shot. He just doesn't look fast enough in the paper race. He's 2 for 17. Number 7, another one. He's 30-1 morning line, and he's just 1 for 9 lifetime. And his win was back in April, and since then he really hasn't been a threat against winners. Can't imagine that he's going to threaten these. A horse that could impact the pace. Number 8, won in Vermillion. He's 4-1 morning line, and he's finished 1st or 2nd in 8 of 10 starts, including 5 wins. So he's one that likes to get out there. He did that in the Iowa Derby last time. He got out there, he wired the field, but he was placed 2nd through disqualification for drifting and causing interference. Prior to that, he was 2nd in a turf stakes race at Canterbury. He won a little sprint at Canterbury before that. So he's one that he can sprint. He won the Las Barreras Stakes at Santa Anita at 7 furlongs in a 4-horse field. Santa Anita Derby, he was 5th. Sunland Derby earlier this year, he was 5th. Usually when he faces a bit better horses, he can't quite keep going. But when he's in the non-graded ranks, he can be a threat. I don't know that 1.125 is his best distance. He's 0 for 2 with no top 3 finishes at 1.125. I do think he can impact the pace. I just don't know if he's going to be around at the end. Groveland, a 20-1 long shot, at least is worth talking about. He's run 7 times, and he's finished in the top 3 in 6 of those 7 starts. And he's had some success, at least in one stakes race. The Sam F. Davis, he ended up finishing 2nd at 21-1. Then in the Tampa Bay Derby, he did not run back to that. He was 8th, beaten 11 lengths. And then last time at Hawthorne, he won a non-winners 2 lifetime allowance race to pick up his 2nd win, adding Lasix for the first time. He'll stalk the pace. He'll probably stalk wide. He probably won't be around at the end. Number 10 is a 50-1 hopeless long shot with low speed ratings. Number 11, Raise Cain. Certainly, he could be the favorite in here. He's 3-1 morning line, and they're adding Lasix for the first time. He's 2 for 10 lifetime with 2 seconds and a third, but he is 0 for 2 at this 1.125 distance. His big claim to fame, or actually he did hit the board in a couple of stakes races, the Bowman Mill, the Gun Runner Stakes, but his big claim to fame was the Gotham Stakes. that was run in the mud. It was a pace meltdown. He was outside. He blew by the whole field and he won by more than 7. But then the Bluegrass Stakes against Tapit Trice, verifying blazing 7s. No threat there. He was 5th from post 10. And then the Kentucky Derby, he was 8th, beaten 10 lengths in a 18-horse field. The Matt Winn, he was 4th, beaten 7 lengths. And then in the Indiana Derby, he ran a better race at a mile and a 16th on a good track, 2nd by a nose. So 2 of his good efforts, last time in the Indiana Derby on a good track, and then the Gotham in the mud, makes me think he would not mind a wet track at all. I don't think he's out of this one, but I don't know that a mile and an 1/8 is going to be his best distance, and I think he's just not going to offer a lot of value in here. Number 12, West Coast Cowboy for trainer Safi Joseph Jr., 2 for 6 lifetime. He was 5th in the Iowa Derby, 7th, beaten 13 lengths in the Florida Derby, and then he was 3rd in the Holy Bull earlier this year. But overall, he's got some positional speed, but from that outside post, he might get hung out wide, stalking the pace, and he's got to prove more in the stakes ranks. And then we have 2 also eligibles, number 13, Russian Hammer at 30-1, number 14, Knockout Guy, 99-1. So even if they get in, I don't think they're going to be factors in here. So I certainly can see Race Cain making some noise in here. He'll have his fans. Some others, one in Vermillion, can impact the pace, but I don't think that he can be around at the end. Another horse that should be running late, Red Route 1, just doesn't win that often. He needs everything to go right. He's going to have to work his way through a bulky field and hope that there's a pace meltdown and then he can get a clean trip. Lord Miles, I don't know that he can run back to that Wood Memorial. He's got that one big run, and I'm just not sure. So that kind of leaves Tapit Conquest as my top choice. He's one that he's got some decent form. I mentioned that he comes off of that nice win at this mile and an 1/8 distance. He's got tactical speed. He's stakes placed in the Sir Barton. He was clearly second best in that race behind Arabian Lion. If Arabian Lion was in this race, he would be a heavy favorite. The Risen Star, he was not embarrassed, finishing 4th behind some good horses like Angel of Empire and Two Fills. So he's hung in there against some quality competition. And I think his 3rd start after a layoff, after that confidence-boosting victory, working out a decent trip, I think maybe Tapit's Conquest can get the job done and win the West Virginia Derby. So he'll be my top choice. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you like this horse racing content. And that will wrap up this video. Keep checking my YouTube channel each week for all of these handicapping videos. And until I see you next time, good luck at the races.